Hi, my name's Sean Shaler. That's my friend Chris Ford, aka the Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter fame. We are Avatar, the Last Podcasters, the second most exciting Avatar podcast on the internet these days, or
Oh yeah.
10th or 11th, or who's counting, but definitely not the first anymore. If we ever had a claim to that throne, it's 100% gone now. But that's okay. We're still happy to be here anyway, and we're happy to talk about Book 3. In fact, I'd say we are very excited to start talking about Book 3. Today we're going to talk about Chapter 1. It's called A Breath of Fresh Air. But before we do that, Chris, how you been doing this week? It's been a couple weeks since we talked, like always.
Yeah, it's been like, what, 3 weeks since we've recorded?
Yeah, because we had this weird, and we, just for the record, we got kind of another weird, I decided to take all the vacations that I haven't taken in like a year and just pack them into July. So got a couple more weird weeks ahead.
Yeah, I mean, since then, life hasn't changed much. Just been doing housework and stuff, and just living life.
Did you ever get that
much? Just...
Did you ever get that really unique corner toilet, like all settled and all the tile built around it?
A corner toilet. Every time I have like some plumber come in and look at it, they're like, "That corner toilet is interesting. I've never seen it." I'm like, "You guys are plumbers. You've done this like I don't know how many years."
Chris, I've peed in a lot of toilets, and it's the first time I've ever seen. Not just peed a lot of times. I've peed in many different toilets over the years. And that was my first corner toilet experience.
Wow.
I didn't even pee in it. I just looked at it and said, Did not use that. I mean, I didn't go in there and then not pee. I just mean I was in as an examiner, as an observer at best, not an end user. End user, pun intended.
As if that was a big conversation for you and Heather, like when you guys left my house.
It was. I was like, Heather, you ever seen a corner toilet? She said, no, I've never seen a corner toilet. It was. It's a big deal. There's a small part of us that's jealous because one of our bathrooms could use a corner toilet, but that's probably
expensive.
It's probably custom made or something.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. They can't find them.
I know. I'm like, I'll never get rid of that toilet, even though it's fairly old. Came with the house in 1980.
You can't get rid of it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I'm glad the housework is going well. And then I think we had a couple of, I'm going to call them minor news things to bring up. I'll let you introduce them since you were aware of both of them, and I, as usual, am oblivious to everything.
Yeah. You know what, Sean? How are you doing? I never ask. Well, I do every now and then. Like once every 10 episodes, I ask how you're doing.
I don't know that you do because I just vomited out on people whether they're ready or not. I am good. I don't like being out of the house this much. Not that I'm like a super introvert or anything, but I don't like being out of the house a whole lot. And through most of July, we have been out of the house. So in fun things, but I miss being at home. But other than that, I'm good. I've been watching a lot of NBA finals, no matter whose house I'm in. That's very exciting. And I think the Bucks are going to win one more at home, and then the Suns will get healthy and get the last two in Phoenix, for the record. And
I think they're going 2-2-1-1-1.
Oh, they do that now, right? Gosh, I thought it was still 2-3-2, but I think you're right. Oh, okay. Well, if the Bucks don't win the next one, while Chris Paul is still question mark, whatever is going on with his head, then I'll say the Suns will win the next two in a row, even that middle one back in Milwaukee.
Okay.
Like if they don't keep this momentum right here, they won't win another one. But where are you at with that one?
I'm going for the Suns. Although honestly, I'll be happy either way with who wins. But this is Chris Paul's last chance, like I was mentioning to you before. And it would be nice for Chris Paul to get a ring. They don't call him the point guard for no reason.
It's not that the Suns will get substantially worse, but as you pointed out, I'm not taking credit for this. As you pointed out, the combination of their health and lack of others' health, and I mean, it's such a bad bracket if you're talking about healthy Nuggets, healthy Lakers, healthy Clippers, healthy I'm forgetting one, Jazz. I forgot the number one seed, the Jazz.
Yeah, they would have played. The people that played, they first played the Lakers. Anthony Davis was out. pretty much. He wasn't all the way there. LeBron wasn't even full there. And then they played the Nuggets without Jamal Murray, and they swept them.
Hmm.
And then they played the Clippers without Kawhi Leonard. So they got really, really lucky. Like, because honestly, I think they would have lost any of those series without those.
I think they would have beat the Nuggets. I don't know if Jamal sways a sweep. Lakers,
Yeah.
I'm not totally convinced the Lakers' health. Like, if you're talking total health, 100% Lakers versus 100% Suns, probably. But I think you're at a point in LeBron James' career, and Chris Paul likewise. We're expecting 100% health.
I don't know,
in
that
this
the
point
momentum in
season.
that series shifted dramatically.
Yeah,
Like
it's
Phoenix
pretty
won game
wild.
one, Lakers won Nets two. Like the third game they won, it was just like they were playing with them. Like LeBron was just like backing down. I forgot his name, guy with the dreads. He was just
Jay.
backing them down, like just playing with them, and like
And
they
they
were
got a
just
long history.
clowning
Yeah.
them. Yeah. And then once an injury happens, then I've never seen this playoffs. I've never seen so many momentum shifts that
Big,
happens in England. Yeah.
massive swings. Props to the Suns though, because they got through. Which I think the Nuggets series they got through without Chris Paul. So safe to say, not safe to
Yeah.
say. I think they would have won that series in
That's
a nutshell.
true.
But the other two, for sure, Clippers looked pretty dang good without Kawhi. Paul looked as good as he's looked. Paul
did.
George without Kawhi ever. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with this NBA Finals, just being a little different, a little weird. Don't really care who wins. Either way, somebody pretty deserving is going to win that they probably wouldn't win in any other year. That's a good deal. That's not maybe not great for ratings, but it's good for those players.
Yeah.
Hey, long story short, I'm tired, but I'm doing good. And
News. Oh,
yeah, hit me
sorry.
with the news. I'm
All
excited
right,
for both of
news.
these things.
One thing, the biggest piece of news that dropped in all of Avatar fandom this week was that one podcast recognized another podcast, Sean.
It was huge.
I think that, yeah, it was
No,
very huge
Chris.
in my.
Not just one podcast. One star. Yeah, I guess I'll just say star. One star. There's another word that I
Studded.
need to put behind it.
Star-studded.
A very important
podcast.
person about whom the other podcast cares a lot.
Oh yeah. So if you don't listen, Braving the Elements did name drop us Avatar Last Podcasters. I mean, it wasn't like, hey guys, go listen to this podcast. They were, if
It
only that
wasn't
would be
a
great.
plug.
It wasn't, yeah, it wasn't a plug, but the name was dropped. I had tweeted out to them about a question that Dante had about like why is Aang not dressed up? Like why is he not bundled up? He's in the South Pole, and I tweeted at them that purposely from our Our Last Podcasters Twitter handle. That's because airbenders can regulate their body temperature with just airbending. And then you didn't like Dante Bosco's response to it.
So if I'm understanding right, what you've presented to us is that canon? Is it from a comic
It's
or
canon.
something like that? Yeah.
It's canon. And in my tweet, it wasn't enough to go ahead and explain like, oh, well, Tenzin mentioned this in book 3 of Legend of Korra in the episode Original Masters or Original Airbenders. I think it's Original Masters.
I just thought that Dante sounded a little doubtful in his response, like a yeah, I don't know kind of thing. And I was like, whoa.
I don't think it sounded doubtful. I think
Whoa.
he sounded more like, hey, airbenders are brushing up on firebender type of.
Yeah, I think that's
kind of. Yeah.
I,
I don't think it was doubtful because the thing is, Dante, he'll admit that even though he's part of the show, he's a huge part of the show. He's like, I'm not an expert at it. He'll be like, I don't know these things. We're learning. He was like, by the end of it, we'll be experts.
I just thought there was like a touch of disbelief in his reading, but
Okay.
hey, it
Maybe
was
a
nice.
touch.
It was nice for a couple of very important people to tweet out, to back tweet a couple of very grateful and excited people.
Yes.
Go listen to that podcast, by the way. It's a lot different in tone than our podcast, obviously. It's a lot different in tone because it is, we've kind of mentioned before, it's super duper positive, but I've thoroughly enjoyed, we'll be up to episode 5 at this point by the time you listen to this probably. There's 4 out right this in it.
The latest episodes with Eric Coleman, who's like an executive president or something at Nickelodeon at the time that the show was on, and and uh, and he was just saying how like Mike and Bryan, how he told them like what they were looking for and how to pitch it and stuff. And then he was like kind of solely, not solely, but he was very hugely influential on Zuko because originally Zuko wasn't really there. And then and he was telling them like, well, you need someone. I think you need a kid's POV as an enemy to follow them around and stuff. And that's all. That's all
Something
he told
about
them.
like a you get the big bad off in the
Yeah,
distance, but you need, like the real
you
present
need boots on the
danger or
ground.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah. And then he was like, that's one thing I told him. He was like, and then he was like, my job isn't to like tell people, hey, here's my vision, go do this. It's just to help them with their vision. I want to help people create their stories. Which sounds like a great person to work with. Um, and he was like, so I just gave him that nugget, and then they came back with this whole entire new backstory and character and everything, and and, and he was saying that Zuko's his favorite character.
They
Um,
came back and they said we have this idea for the greatest character arc in history, except for in the eyes of Sean, who won't be quite on board with that yet.
uh, um, and then one of my other favorite moments in the latest episode was Dante was talking about they're talking about relationships, and Janet had asked Eric Coleman like, "What's your favorite relationship in the show?" And he said, "Well, it's between Iroh and Zuko." And that moment that Iroh reunites with Zuko, like I know it's coming, like, but I cry every single time. And he says like, "I wasn't mad at you. I was just afraid you lost your way." And then Dante says like, "Dude, that moment for me, us in the recordings in the booth." And Dante, I never heard this before from Dante because we all know that Mako, the original voice actor of Iroh, passed away in between season 2 and 3, and then Greg Baldwin had to replace him. And so Dante was saying that when him like he hasn't all his lines, he was like, yeah, that first episode in season 3, when I'm doing the lines, like because Iroh's not even talking, I'm talking to myself because there's no one to really talk to. Really, I'm talking to Mako, even though Mako's passed away. Like, and he just has that vision said. So then, when they're finally reunited in episode 19, the Old Masters, he was saying that like him and when you heard Greg Baldwin's voice Mako, like it was, I'm sorry, voice Iroh, it was just so it was just like Mako was there. Like he was like we were just bawling in the booth, like me, Greg, Andrea Romano, like we were all just crying, like when we were delivering these lines, and Eric Como was like, wow, like I had no idea any of that happened, but
And it
and
about
Dante
made
said
me cry
before,
then. It's about to make me cry right now.
Dante said before that how like Mako was a huge inspiration for him, and like they had a really good relationship, even and they knew each other even before Avatar. So that must have just been I don't know, some type of otherworldly type of voice recordings, like those things. Like I feel like I've had those moments of just throughout life of just like I don't know, just something greater than yourself is happening kind of in that moment, or just something you just get caught up in and wrapped up in the moment.
It's about to make me well up a little bit right now. And my tissues are all the way over there.
Side note, so I don't know if this is an introvert thing or not, but I do this thing where I think of like the best possible case scenario of something, but it has like zero chance of happening. Like I almost think of also I think of bad things sometimes. Most as a parent.
That's what I do. The worst possible things. That's my brain all the
Yeah.
time.
I usually don't think of the worst possible things,
I do.
but only as a parent. Like if I'm walking up the stairs, if I'm putting something on the stairs, I think to myself, oh, someone might trip and then they fall down the stairs and die. like
That
like I'm seeing into a
hold on.
dark
I got a joke. No,
multiverse.
I've got a joke. That de-escalated quickly because they fell down.
Uh,
Huh?
but
Oh, I'm so
so
proud.
so I
You
but I
moved
do
the
the positive
thing.
thing. I
Yeah.
do the positive thing all the time in my head. And so in this case, the positive thing is like, oh man, one maybe one day Jenna and Dante want like some fans on the show for some reason. Man, that'd be really cool if I got on there and I could talk to Janet, and then I could bring my daughter on, and she'll be really like my in my head. This happens, but I know this is not going to happen.
But you got
Chris,
to.
like,
I think your daughter needs to be a little older. Like, do you think your daughter understands the concept of voice actors? Like, this lady is Korra, and she's
yeah.
like, you don't want her to be like, no, it's not.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
right
no,
to
she
her
gets
face.
it. We talk about voice actors all the time.
Oh,
She's
good.
she's understood the concept of voice acting since probably 3.
Since day one. No, well,
Like
that's
she
good. Then
like we were watching like we watch Batman anime series all the time, and one time she heard Fire Lord Ozai, she was like, "That's Joker."
and you're
I'm like,
like,
"Yeah,
yeah,
good job, like
yeah,
good
baby,
job."
yeah, baby, it
So proud of you.
is. Chris is like, I need a moment. You run upstairs, you tell your wife,
Yeah,
and your wife's like,
yeah, I had a but anyway, that's not. Those were not the biggest news in the Avatar fandom. To me, it was.
that's pretty big to us.
Yeah, like when I heard Dante Basco say at Avatar the Last Podcasters, I was in my cubicle at work, and I literally like spinned around in excitement.
Thanks for dropping
But
your knowledge under our mutual podcast name so I could share in some of the glory I don't deserve. I appreciate it. Thanks, man. Long for the
no
ride.
problem. Okay, so slightly bigger news, just slightly bigger news. So Nickelodeon announced a new video game that is a fighter game. It's very heavily inspired by Super Smash Bros. I believe it's going to be just a exact copy, but it's going to have Nickelodeon characters. This video game is called Nickelodeon All Stars Brawl. They wanted you to know so much that this is like Super Smash Bros. That they use Brawl, which was used in the second entry in the Super Smash Bros. Games. But they have not announced all the characters yet. The thing is, the cover of it has like silhouettes, and there's 2 silhouettes that look like Korra and Aang, and so very, very positive. One thing, even if they showed nothing, I'm like, you're gonna put Korra and Aang. Like, they're the 2 best fighters in Nickelodeon history. Why would you not put them in a fighter game?
I mean, we've talked before. You could make a heck of a Smash Brothers clone out of Avatar characters, and we've discussed like
Yeah,
pulling that
alone.
podcast together. Like, think of 4 different bending styles, and then the random sort of special move offshoots of those styles, non-bender weapons. Like
Yeah.
that, you don't need those other. I almost call them garbage characters. I love Nickelodeon; they're not garbage characters. You don't need those other characters.
They're to
Mostly
me,
garbage. Also, SpongeBob. Hold on.
it's like,
though.
ooh, get to play as Sandy from SpongeBob. Like,
SpongeBob really can't take damage and he can regenerate, so I feel like he's a broken character out of the gate. That seems a little unfair. He can't take damage, Chris. He just regrows his limbs and pieces. I thought really hard since you told me this about good games Nickelodeon has made, and I'm coming up pretty empty most of the way. The best games I can think of is Battle for Bikini Bottom and the SpongeBob SquarePants movie games. And there is a random Rugrats Racer on the PlayStation 2 that's oddly not a terrible racing game. But otherwise, Nickelodeon does not treat its properties well enough in video game form for me to be very excited, quite honestly.
No, they don't. Well, because they're marketing to kids, and kids are not nearly as peculiar about how good games should be and how complicated gameplay should be and stuff like that. That's some of the joys of Super Smash Bros. Is that Super Smash, it doesn't matter what level you are. Like you could be a novice just picking the game up for the first time. You know, my son plays Super Smash Bros. He's 4. I mean, my kids are playing it since they were probably 3. But you could also be like expert level playing at tournaments type of deal, and it's all very intuitive.
It's very accessible. One thing I did want to throw out a plug for, and I don't think you have a 3DS, so you don't care, is that a friend of mine did send me a 3DS and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, and it has like 2 games in one. And I thought they were both pretty good. Like, I played them both. One is based on the Michael Bay movie, Shut Up, Don't Judge Me. And then the other is based on the current Nickelodeon cartoon. One's like a Metroidvania. The other's like a beat 'em up. And I kind of was enjoying them both. And so then today, I looked up reviews for that. I got that like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, just by coincidence. And so today I looked up reviews for that, and everybody hated it. And so I was like, oh, even the game that I did think that Nickelodeon did good with, literally the whole world other than me and that one other friend of mine thought it was garbage. So what do I know? Nothing.
I do
As it turns
think
out.
I do think at least one of the Ninja Turtles will be in this new Nickelodeon fighter game because Nickelodeon has at least the TV rights to Ninja Turtles, and they've been coming out with TV shows for them
But
for
it
like the
is a separate
last
set of rights
12
for.
years.
It is a separate set of rights for video games, but I mean, they published that game. That's a 3DS game that's like 4 or 5 years old. So that at some point they had the ability to do that.
Yeah.
That could be like an easy like palette swap kind of thing almost, right? Swap a palette, swap a weapon. But,
Yeah, probably.
yeah, gotta have some Last Airbender characters in there. Is it
Yeah,
wrong to
if
have?
I'm assuming they'll probably have like four. They'll probably have Aang, Korra, Katara, Zuko, and then actually, like I would put Toph in there, but I have a feeling like if you put more than that,
You're weighting it too heavy on the first one though. They would surely distribute it a little,
yeah. Oh, then they're gonna have DLC, of course.
like a 3-2.
So,
Yeah, naturally.
well, I don't know. I feel like games have to be certain popularity to even warrant come out to waste developers' money on making a DLC.
You'd be surprised at
Okay.
the. Yeah, and we also mentioned another Smash Brothers clone that's kind of good. It's called Brawl Brothers, and so there's some examples of successful clones. Like, yeah, it's a clone, but it's still a good game.
Yeah.
So there's some hope. I don't know if it comes to the Switch, I'll probably buy it. I buy every other damn.
You have a
Switch
lot
games.
of games on the Switch.
I do.
Like,
I do.
I have 4 games.
I have.
on the
Do you want?
Switch.
I just counted up. Just counted up the other day. You want to take a guess?
Let me guess. Let's see. I'm gonna guess 47. Oh my gosh. 50.
No, I'm not even gonna tell you. Guess how many games? Guess how many games I've got on Twitter, and closest few people, I'll say your names or something. I don't know. I'll think of something I can do for you nice on the next podcast. Guess how many Switch games I own right now as of this exact moment of recording. I've got it right here. It'll be exciting. Yeah. Well, I hope it doesn't suck. Long story short, the
Yeah.
most sobering part will be is that we will recognize like half the characters, and then the other half the characters I'll have no idea. You have kids, I suppose, so maybe you'll recognize more of
Yeah.
them.
I feel like I keep tabs on Nickelodeon just in case, like, well, oh, this show sounds somewhat decent. But really, honestly, nothing that's come. I mean, there's a couple different shows like Loud House. I enjoyed Loud House. It's just about probably because I relate to it. It's about a boy and he has like 11 sisters, and that in itself is funny to me because I have 4 sisters, and so just understand where he's coming from.
You just take each of those sisters, multiply them by 2.2 or something, and bam, Loud House.
Yeah.
I keep no tabs, but like I said, I'm sure the classic characters. I mean, SpongeBob's still wildly popular. TMNT, ATLA.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Rugrats are back, right? So surely Rugrats will make. Is it
They
wrong to
are,
punch a
yeah.
baby in a video game? Is that?
You know what? I was just thinking that, like, who's just such a baby?
It's not so much bad for you to use Tommy Pickles, but what if you're playing against Tommy Pickles? Is that wrong? Probably not. Yeah, and then final piece of not news, but news to us again. We're gonna do a sandwich of things that are important to us, but not to other people. I was gonna let you say it, or I can say it.
Oh, wait, what is it?
But
Go ahead.
we, as of yesterday, Wednesday,
Oh, yeah, I'm
July
sorry.
14th or something like that. This is how big of a deal it is to us, is that I didn't know at first and Chris didn't remember now. It's very important to us that we've been going on for 3 years, which is pretty exciting. When we first started, I lived in I'm going to make this sound like a sob story, but it's not. When we first started, I lived in a small apartment, and now my podcast earnings have moved me into my beautiful home. And it's not worth mentioning that I lived in a beautiful home before I moved into the apartment. That goes without saying. But yeah, we've been going on for 3 years. I've listened to a couple of the earlier episodes over time, like within the past several months, and I will say that we have gotten infinitely better, infinitely
that's good.
more interest. We were so not deadpan. That's not the right word, but just kind of uninteresting when we started. Maybe we take it less
That's
serious
okay.
now in general, or don't take ourselves so seriously, or something. wasn't bad. It
I don't
just
know.
wasn't as good. Just my
Yeah,
opinion.
that's I don't know, everything in
That's
life.
that's the norm for podcasts and for all things. So hey, 3 years we have nothing special planned, but we're
Yeah.
proud.
Thank you guys for following us for whatever how long you've been following us and watching these episodes and it's been a joy. It's fun to do. I'll just call it my friend every once in a while and talk about Avatar.
It's pretty fantastic to remember that I hadn't even watched the whole Avatar thing in like sequence until I worked at Payless. And Chris like, hey, you gotta watch the show, and I was like, why do I gotta watch that show again? Like, I liked it. I guess I saw pieces, and then he like brings these burned DVDs over.
Yeah, back when I had, yeah,
Back when
I only had the
back
burned
when he thought it was
DVDs.
the greatest show of all time, but not worth buying.
because, because in my defense, I had it on bootleg in college because someone was just like, "Hey, you want these copies of Avatar: Last Airbender? So and so has it, and when I can just burn you some for free." Me, like, you talking about the best show ever? Well, not actually at that point in time. I didn't think it was the best show. I thought it was probably like top three. I was like, "Yeah, I'll take that." And then I fell even more and more in love with the show. But then I kept thinking to myself, "Oh, I should buy these DVDs, but they're probably coming out on Blu-ray pretty soon." And they did. They came out on Blu-ray, and I bought the Blu-ray, and then I gave my bootleg DVDs away to somebody, and then I realized that the Blu-rays didn't have the commentary that I needed, and then I went back and bought the DVDs, and now I watch it on Netflix also.
For what it's
So,
worth, I love how the DVD cases look, the white and orange. I don't know why I find them
yeah.
very attractive.
No, they're really good. Great art.
And it's not that it's directly Avatar, but I feel like part of our initial bonding was over Avatar, and then that led to other terribly nerdy things. I had never gone to Comic-Con before. I'd never played a real game of Yu-Gi-Oh before. all these eye-opening experience that started with watching Avatar at Payless. Not at Payless, although sometimes actually yes, at Payless.
I think so.
Yeah, my computer had a DVD player in it at Payless, but I didn't at home, so I had a PS2. It just, ugh. Not black to the PS2, black to plugging it in because I'm a very lazy person. But hey, 3 years. Thanks for sticking with it, Chris. I always appreciate it. It is really nice to get together and talk about it. And then the fact that there are people that have been with us, like have actually been paying attention to us for like an hour every week for a very long period of time. That's pretty impressive in its own right. So thank you guys for all of your support. We appreciate it. Lovely bonus. Very gravy.
Yeah.
Hey, we've got an episode to talk about, and it's a pretty dang good one. Let's jump into our review of Book 3, Change, Chapter 1, A Breath of Fresh Air.
All right, breath of fresh air. Okay, so it starts off with Korra. Oh crap! Sorry, it starts off with they're about to sue us now. Not sue us, but anyway.
It starts off with a song that goes like this.
Yeah, I'll just play the episode for you. Anyway, all right. End of last season, harmonic convergence happened, and that brought about great change in the world. And then you open up with Korra trying to get rid of spirit vines. Spirit vines are all over the city. And then, everyone's spirit vines. And then goes to Boomy. Boomy is trying to knit a sweater for a spirit, Boom Joom. And he ends up falling, which he ends up falling to his death, which is kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's maybe a little too much. Like, if it wasn't for airbending just randomly coming to him, he would have died. Like, what? I guess that's a very Boomy way to die.
It's something
like,
pretty
hey,
careless and stupid.
We found Boomy. Was it suicide? No. Looks like he accidentally fell off. All right. Well, that's what it sounds like. Boomy.
It could have been suicide. We think he was upset that the spirit didn't like his sweater.
There's some detective who does all this work who narrows it down. Like, apparently he got into an argument with his spirit, and then he was knitting a sweater. You see here, then he fell to his death, and they're like, "That's so outlandish." Like some other like.
And then Lin Beifong pops in and says, "It wasn't suicide." And then she points at the spirit and says, "He was pushed."
Yeah. The spirit goes into spirit jail. But anyway, Boomy saves his life by airbending. And I don't remember, I think I saw a trailer for the season and it had that in the episode, in the trailer. And so I wasn't surprised by this. Sean, how did you feel? Do you remember how you felt when you first saw Boomy airbend?
I was very confused at first. More so, and this is common to me, not being observant to detail, but I get confused more than I get excited. So like, you're probably jacked when you see it. I'm just like watching, and then he does it, and he like stops himself at the ground. It probably took me a minute to be like, wait, that ain't right. So no, I don't remember exactly, but that tends to be like a delayed consciousness that I have when I watch these things. So I'm embarrassing to watch TV shows with, is all I'm saying.
That's all right.
But once it dawns on you, it's so exciting. You know what? Let me tell you how I felt the more recent time that I watched through the whole thing. And that was very excited. And part of it is because we'd been kind of bad-mouthing book 2. Not bad-mouthing, but, being honest with it. And then I get to book 3, and I basically like burn through book 3 and 4 in like a day, maybe 2 days. But yeah, so, I know it's coming at that point, but so hyped for Boomy in this great story he gets to go tell his peers, his family members, because I know what it's like to be the weirdo in the family. I feel you, Boomy.
Yeah, it's so anyway, so Mako also gets a call about an airbender showing up, and so Mako goes and handles that. Well, he doesn't handle it. The airbender gets away, and he's just screaming and stuff. And then and then Bolin is staying at Air Temple Island with the family and with airbender kids, and Bolin, they're all like eating dinner, and Korra comes over, and Bolin's like, "I love being here. Like, you got your put upon mom, you got your grumpy dad, you got your crazy uncle, and the crazy kids." I just like Bolin being the commentator on this.
There's a word for like being the live narrator that also exists within the show, and that's a role that Bolin hits kind of throughout this whole season in a weird way.
Yeah, I think so. And then Boomy keeps on talking about how he used to airbend, how he airbended, and then he's like, "You see that? The napkin moved." And Kaya's like, "You blew on it, Boomy." And then he's like, "Maybe my life needs to be in danger." And I like how Milo just like, "Look alive, Uncle Boomy," and then just like throws a plate at him. Again, like something that if Boomy didn't have an airbend, he would have just got hit in the head, full steam, with a plate. Which that would have been funny.
But Milo has faith. Uncle Boomy tells you to throw something at him. Milo's like, "All right, listen, he asked for a boulder. I threw a plate. All right, it's not that big of a deal."
Yeah. And then I think Ikki was the one that's like, maybe he's a late bloomer. And then just like, these kids are very positive, and
they are. And they're hurtful, but they don't know they're being hurtful. It comes out positive. It's just in their heads, it's positive. It comes out a little hurtful.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah. So then, then they all realize that Boomy's actually a bender, and like he says something that's really small, but I feel like there's small moments of Boomy that means a lot. I think if you add the context to it. So like right when he's like confirmed to himself that he's an airbender, he's like, "Wait till I tell mom." Like the first thing he wants to do is go tell his mom that he's an airbender.
She'll be so proud.
Yeah, exactly. Like she knows how much that meant to Aang. And then even in the next episode, like when they can't get people, he's like, "Don't worry, Tenzin. Like I want to be part of your army." Like he's these little small things I feel like are just so indicative of the character.
He's latched onto it from the get-go. Like there's no sort of second guessing his newfound gift.
Yeah, which is funny because later on it's to me Boomy has some really great character work done in season 3, but it's all really subtle and really small. But we'll get more to that later on when we get to that episode. But and then what else happens?
Let's say there's an A plot, a B plot, and a C plot in this one, kind of.
Yeah. So the court's also trying to deal with the vines, And then so she's like, oh, I have an idea. Oh, before that, Korra and Asami go out for a drive, and Asami teaches her how to drive. And I feel like this is definitely the season where you start to see some drops of Korra Asami, some little hints at it. And I want to say that because I was watching something
I don't
before
know if you even
about
have to say little hints. I mean, I think they're pretty. Directive is too strong of a word, but
yeah. I mean, they're clearly trying
it's
to
It's not arbitrary. Like it's intentional, I guess. It feels intentional.
yeah. And I think this dynamic is so much better than they were before. Because in the commentary, Bryan is like, yeah, before they were kind of rivals in a sense, and things. And I realized that like in book two, I think they only have like one conversation together, which is which is terrible. Like if of your four main Team Avatar characters, two of them barely even talk to each other.
Well,
Like, I'm not saying
Did you rewrite more conversations into your book too, Chris? Because I didn't.
you know what. You're right.
I didn't.
You're right. I did. I wrote more stuff for Asami to do, but
They would have interacted more inherently. That's fine.
yeah. And so I think that was missing. And so to start off this season, I think with their relationship kind of redefined, I think it was really good just for relationship dynamics. Like even if you just want to say that, even if you just want to say everything's platonic and everything, it's just so much better to see them just talking with each other. Like they go back and forth about how like oh, why is Mako acting so weird lately? Because Mako won't stay at Air Temple Island with them. He's just sleeping at the precinct.
Precinct?
There we go. Precinct.
I think. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. And then they go back and forth. Like Asami's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Like I didn't tell you this, but me and Mako dated. Like we started back dating, or I kissed Mako while you were off away." And then Korra laughed. And Korra's like, "Oh, don't worry. Like I kissed Mako when you guys were dating." And then Asami was like, "What?" And then they were both laughed it off and stuff. And like, and Korra was saying like, "I'm glad that we didn't let any of that get between us." Which that to me is just cool, girl power type of stuff, even though it was leading to more. And I think, like I said before, I think Asami is, and I might just be now reconciling how the series ends with now that Asami is trying to, just venture out and to see, just get closer to Korra, right? Because she's telling her like, "Hey, you drive," like, and she does the whole hair flippy thing, which I feel like she only does when and plays with the hair when she's trying to draw attention to herself. Like, notice me, Korra. Notice this hair flip. But anyway, what else was there about those two? Oh, Korra then gets the idea to do the spirit divine thing to spirit bend them. She does it at first, and then it goes awry. Oh, the president's a jerk. I hate the president, but that's fine. You're supposed to hate the president.
Yeah, I mean it might be a little overdone, but it's pretty.
I mean, he's
pretty on point. Again, it's too because it's too overdone, but it fits what it's supposed to do here for sure.
Yeah. They talk about how his poll numbers are almost as low as the avatars, which I call BS on that, because after anyone does anything very significant, positive, their poll numbers would be up. Korra just saved the world. Everybody saw her be a giant blue spirit. I think her poll numbers would at least be 50%, not 8%.
But it's skewed. I bet they're only polling in Republic City, and they've got the Vine disasters. And polls, I don't like surveys. Surveys are skewed to a psychographic of people who care enough to answer surveys, and normal people don't fit that mold. Unless you're a person who likes to answer surveys, in which case I apologize.
I'm just saying, and in the Republic City, people in Republic City saw Korra save the world. They saw her defeat the living in this giant monster.
But it's a "what have you done for me lately" thing. They got these vines growing through the side door. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's only been a couple of weeks. Like Obama's poll numbers went skyrocketed through the roof. Well, actually, I'm just making this. I know they went up after Osama bin Laden was killed, but I'm sure they didn't skyrocket. Point being is, as I think people would give her some more credit than 8%. 8% is really low.
It's a pretty small number, but we won't try to judge the politics in this fictional land and how their poll numbers work.
Maybe just no one's ever happy, and like 20% would be great.
Maybe
Like,
this
if I
is
could
the
just
first
get,
poll they've ever taken, and the poll takers didn't even know what satisfaction was. Like, with
you
my
know
whole
what?
life? Or, like, what are we talking about here?
These are probably early polls, and early polls are probably very skewed to whoever is doing the poll. Like the poll
Yeah,
probably said, like, do you think Avatar Korra is a bad avatar or a worse avatar?
and the answer is like, well, she's not, like, bringing me money, and I'm broke, so I guess worse.
Yeah. Do you do you think Avatar Korra could do more? I
There's
mean,
hungry
yeah, I
children on the
guess.
street. She's terrible, and so yeah,
Yeah. Anyway.
interesting. I would love to see how those questions were worded. Absolutely. It was who do you
Yeah.
it was who do you hate more, President Raiko, Avatar Korra, or yes? Those the
Yeah. Okay, so the airbender runs away, and then one thing I love about that scene that the spirit vines come back is that the building kind of goes down, and Korra sort of has to be a superhero. Like she goes into a building, gets people out of there, and then she has to go into another building, have a person. She has to air glide with one hand, hold a person with the other hand, land quick enough. She sees this big, huge, freaking debris falling, has to land quick enough, catch herself, roll, and then catch this giant freaking a corner of a building and let it down softly enough that it doesn't hurt other people around her. Like, as a person who loves superheroes and loves action scenes like that, I loved that moment.
easily, and not that it's like a bad episode for that, but easily the most exciting sequence of the entire of the episode. I mean, Boomy fallen, I get, but very well put together, very exciting scene.
Yeah. So then Korra goes to talk this the airbender guy from the Mako met with before off a bridge, and I feel like it's painted in a way to as if Korra is talking down. You know, we talked about Boomy almost commits suicide before, but it's almost painted in a way of Korra talking down a person from suicide, and and again, that's a very superhero thing to do. Like in the Superman comic, Superman All-Star Superman, like he's talking a person off of suicide. And to me, it's Korra at her finest. Like this is like peak Korra to me. Like she's mentally pretty healthy. She's she's looking for she's going down the right paths to look for enlightenment. I think she's doing everything she can.
I
Just
love how
trying
she
her
just
best.
plops down and starts talking to him real casual.
I absolutely love like she
The
air
tone
like
of
just
the
the way
conversation is
yeah it's to me it's so good. She's like, yeah, I'm not having a good day either. Like like it's for some reason it's just the imagery of a person just flying up, catching her air staff and just sitting kind of in the corner there. Like it's so natural. But yeah, I really love that.
it's a very heartwarming moment.
Yeah. So she gets that guy's down. She catches him because he slips. You know, of course, just to get more little action beats in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the crowd cheers. And then Raiko comes in like, "Is this how it's going to be with you every other day? Whatever." And then and then she yells at him. Then he kicks her out. He banishes her from Republic City. And then I hate that president.
And she's like, whatever. That's
Yeah. And then she's like, you know what? I think I found my calling. I think I'm gonna unite I think I'm gonna rebuild the air nation, the air nomads. And Tenzin's like, I'm gonna go along with you. Like, so now we got a good mission for this season. And Bryan and Mike was talking like yeah, you know, the thing I really liked about this season is that it has like a very positive, noble mission at first. Like, sure, we got our big bad, but like Korra is on a peaceful mission. Like, it's not something so antagonistic. Like you know, in the first season we see Amon. It's like episode 2. It's like, oh, we gotta stop this equalist revolution. This was like, oh no, we gotta do something positive. We gotta bring back the air nomads.
I do feel like Tenzin's talk with her. I mean, it's not that it's not the right thing to do, but it sounds very biased coming from Tenzin. Like, it's your job to worry about the ways of the world and spirits and balance and stuff. But I mean, I get it, and it seems like the right thing to do, but feels like it might have been less selfish sounding coming from somebody else.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I think he kind of admits to it because Korra's like, oh yeah, and they're talk together. Korra is saying like, she says something to the effect of like, she's not a good avatar, and Tenzin says, I think you're a great avatar. Like, I know personally for me, like, your actions led to the revival of the airbenders. Speaking of which, my favorite moment in this episode is Tenzin looking over Aang's island, Aang's statue, and saying like, Dad, it'll be just like before, like new benders are here. Like he wells up. He's like, your dream's gonna be realized. And his kids join them. They have this really great moment of just like, hey, this is us. Like things are changing, but we're gonna do this together. Like
we're gonna repopulate airbenders without incest, and we think that's a huge deal. I'm sure that's what they were thinking.
I love how Milo's like, can we have an army? And Janora's like, airbenders don't have an army, Milo. Like, like I could just see like in the far, far future, Milo's like, you know what? We need to section off. We need to have an actual army.
I am creating
group of the Air Force Nation
to do undesirable tasks that help shape the political spectrum.
We will no longer be walked over. These maggots will bow to me. But
these maggots will bow to me. Love it how he says that.
That was a great moment.
Is that next episode or is that this one?
That might be next episode.
Yeah, I don't remember which one.
Yeah, it's next episode. One random thing. When Bumi confirmed that he's an airbender, Kai says like, I have noticed your aura has been off, and he's like, and you didn't say anything to me? I don't know why these things kind of crack me up. But all right, so the episode ends on I feel like it has a first ending on a somewhat positive note. It's like, all right, we're gonna find new airbenders, and Tenzin says like, who knows who out there is discovering the ability to airbend for the first time, and that's kind of that would be just a great ending, and then it goes into this really off remote location in the middle of the ocean nowhere, and we get to meet Zahir, and we know nothing about him. We just know he's locked up. And this guy, I feel like already jumps out the gate with straight charisma. Like he's doing these quotes. He's quoting Guru Lahima. He says something about instinct is your body, it's a fearful body lying to itself, which just sounds like a BA line. And and he's like, what are you gonna do? Get out of here with some the White Lotus guys. Like, what are you gonna do? Get out here with some airbender nursery tales? He was like all tales, there's truth to it. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, like, I just like how Zahir just like he's kind of like mind effing these people in a way. Like it's just his vernacular and his speeches, they're just on a whole nother level than what these guys are dealing with.
I don't. I have my qualms with Zahir, and I think I just don't love him quite as much as the rest of our fandom does. But I think some of those complaints are better left for next time when we start to see them in action a little bit more. Okay. But I do love that interaction between him and the guards. It's hard to imagine what it would be like to be Zahir or those guards and the type of interaction that they've had for how many years now?
Yeah, I mean, it would have been
15 or something.
Yeah,
so in that ballpark.
Korra was like 4. So yeah, still 15.
Yeah, in that ballpark at least. So I would like to know more of like, did he ever say things before at all, and they're caught off really off guard? They didn't seem caught off guard by him speaking, just by what he said. Like, what has their interaction been like to this point? So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Had me curious, and it was an extremely engaging way to kick off or to end, pardon me, the first episode of this book.
Yeah,
Extremely
and the commentary.
exciting. This
Wait,
one
this is
started
commentary.
and ended in tremendous fashion. This episode.
Yeah. What's the commentary? Bryan is like, so I'm be one of those fans that nitpick things here. He was like, in this frame, from Zahir's point of view, you should be able to see the pillars on the other side, but you don't see anything. And then he was like, and then Zahir should know. Zahir has the line of like, after he locks them all up, he's like, you all better ration that rice. Then that stock won't be here for another 3 weeks. And then they're like, that doesn't. Bryan's like, that doesn't make sense. Like, one of them is an earthbender, and he could just earthbend himself out. and then Mike is like, but no, there might not be an earthbender in there. And right at that point, a person earthbends. It's like, yeah, see. And then Bryan says, like, my point is, these things are hard. Animation is hard, and we make mistakes sometimes.
I didn't even think about it. Maybe he was exhausted and surprised in that moment. He was in shock. Maybe one of his chakras got blocked off by a sudden sharp blast of wind. We don't know.
He would have, no matter what, he would have had time to get away and lock them up. But the fact that Zahir made it seem like they would be trapped there until someone could come and save them was a false statement. And he was like, Zahir should
moron.
know that. Yeah.
Cannot say enough about how this one starts and ends. It's tremendous. Yeah. Any final thoughts before we get to some ratings?
1 second. Let me look real quick. I don't know, because I took a little note, at least for this one. What did I write? Approval ratings. Oh yeah, narrator. Mark conversions created energy shifts. Milo shocked. Finding your own.
It's funny because it looks like you shut your camera off to do something private, but we can still hear you. So it's like, does he know he's on camera? I know you know, but you know.
I just like the conversation with Tenzin and Korra about avatars finding their own path.
Mm-hmm.
I think is very. It's
beautiful
something
because
every avatar has to do.
Aang never really had that like living human person to like reaffirm that. Like everything Aang got in that realm of advice is always from like past lives. There's something about having a tangible human conversation about your avatar, not particularly worldly duties. I don't know. It's kind of gratifying.
Yeah. All right, ratings. Let's get to them. So, audiovisual, 9 out of 10. First of all, there's some great action sequences here, I think, especially with the Korra just being a superhero. I want to talk about the voice acting here for a minute. J.K. Simmons, I think, delivers a great performance as Tenzin, especially in this episode, especially in those small moments, with his kids and with Korra. I think he just did a great job. What else was? Oh, and the action sequence with Zahir at the end. So gave that a 9. And then let's see, story, a 9. There's just so much good stuff here that is subtle, especially for the first episode. Whether it's stuff with Boomy or Korra really trying to come into her own, especially the stuff with Tenzin and his kids. I just really enjoyed that and loved that. And then Zahir just dropping, it's just such a great introduction to a villain, that the villain is an airbender. Like, it's such a, like, usually we're used to airbenders being like so peaceful and stuff. That already it's a great story element that the villain is an airbender, and he's quoting great airbenders of the past. And so that he's very caught up on the airbender culture. Memorable 9 out of 10 also. Being lazy here, there was all nines. All that vision, I probably could have given an 8.5. But anyway, memorable, a
Funny
9.
you say that.
This was a great first episode. Might be the best first episode of a season. I think. Yeah, I think so. Of any season of any of Avatar, I think it's the best first episode. Um, so yeah, it's just a great kickoff, and it leaves you kind of on this like, what the heck, like what is going on this season. So yeah, so that weighted average out to a 9 out of 10.
It's marvelous. I did go 8.5 on audiovisual. I put mine down a couple weeks ago, and I can't necessarily remember why, other than when I rewatch it, I would say, there's some slightly like there are a few moments of action with some dead space in between. I don't know, 8.5 still great. It's great. Story, I gave it a 9. I genuinely think that it's the way that it starts and ends. I care what's in between, but the rest of that stuff doesn't really matter. Like the very first thing you see with Boomy and the very last thing you see is an incredible amount of story, and it kind of sets up the season all by itself. Everything in between is just gravy. It's great, and then memorable. I also
Oh man, I should have went with the 8.5. It would have been the first time. Wait, I wonder have we ever been completely insane.
I bet
Huh.
we have. I would say the
I don't think
odds
we have.
suggest that we have, but I can't. Don't quote me on that.
Mm.
And for what it's worth, memorable. I even think, like, I recall thinking I maybe could have gone higher, like 9.5, just because. Well, I don't just this one sticks out in my memory. It's just very distinct of seeing Boomy being introduced to Zahir, getting the Korrasami start, and things like so many great things. The seeds start right here. And yeah, so I remember thinking I could have gone a little higher and memorable, but regardless, 8.8. That means together we have an 8.9. I would agree. I would say it's the. I'm trying to think what the first episode of the next book is like, but I'm willing to hazard a guess and say that this is the
Yeah.
best
Well,
first episode.
that one, Korra isn't in it at all.
And it's probably I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's probably a slower, like there's
It's
probably more
yeah,
exhibition.
it's a lot slower.
Yeah, so I feel comfortable saying this is the best E1 of any book.
Yeah.
It's great.
And then when you compare it to the original series, I mean, the pilot's great. It's really great. I don't think I rated it this high because it was pretty fresh. It was pretty new. Like, so they were setting up a lot of stuff, and this episode didn't have to
The
like
pilot has
set up
to,
the whole
it's
world.
almost unfair to hold that to it
Yeah,
to the same
yeah.
standard. But we did grade the pilot. The pilot did get a two-parter. At least I think we graded it that way.
I believe so.
And so in my head, it's not that skews thing, but it really is sort of apples to oranges.
Yeah. Real quick, in the commentary when they were talking about Zahir and Bryan was like, some people might be asking themselves like, why is Zahir already such a good airbender?
No, let's save that one for next time because that's part of my complaint, and maybe you can.
Okay.
Maybe
All right.
is that okay?
All right.
Because I'm definitely one of those people, so I'd like to have that.
Nice.
Just discussion, but yeah, let's save that if you don't care.
Let's savor that.
Savor it. I'm new in town, and it gets worse. Hey, with that being said, with me just rudely interrupting Chris's game plans, and no, you shut up. Let's talk about it next time. I also say that knowing that this time, like, we had a nice long intro and all that stuff, but since we record back to back the second one, we like never have anything to talk about, so we gotta spruce things up. So hey, come back next week to figure out why we think about Zahir the way we think about Zahir. In the meantime, Chris, thanks so much for being here for 3 years. Nonetheless, it is weird that we waited till I moved away and then we started a podcast. That's kind of funny, but oh well.
That's true.
Hey,
Because
maybe
all those nights we were playing Yu-Gi-Oh at your house, we would have been podcasting.
we could have been podcasting live with worse equipment and less money.
And I don't think I had a YouTube channel, really.
Probably not quite. I feel like YouTube was like a
Yeah.
2017 endeavor for you, if I had to guess.
I think so.
If I had to guess,
Yeah,
but
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
no, that's like, you know what? I'd rather, we can't play Yu-Gi-Oh digitally as easily, so I'd rather play Yu-Gi-Oh in person and then podcast digitally. But anyway, thanks for hanging in there with me for 3 years. I enjoy it every time, And I'm really, not that I didn't like anything about Avatar, because I still love Avatar more, quite frankly, if you're asking me to judge right now. But going through and watching Korra with a critical eye and only being my second watch through, really enjoyed that a lot so far. To watch anything critically, because I never do that when I'm not talking about Avatar. So that's pretty exciting for me. And thank you all who have been out there with us for any length of time. We really appreciate it. We hope you'll come back next week and more weeks after that as we keep working through Korra. My name's Sean. This is Chris Ford, aka The Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter. Lots of contact information down in the description. This has been Book 3 Change, Chapter 1, A Breath of Fresh Air in the Legend of Korra. And we will see you next time for episode for Chapter 2.